Hello, everyone. I hope you like my new haircut. I wanted to talk to you all about two things today. First of all, last week I just happened to be reading the Chicago Sun-Times website, and on the front, the cover story for that day, it was a Sunday, was a story about the election. And I saw they had a picture of a man on the article. His name was Jim Parrilli. And I thought to myself, wait a minute, I know that guy. I was just in a meeting with him a week prior to that. It was a meeting for Republican election judges. And it was my first year. This was my first year as an election judge. So I knew this guy. And and I was at that meeting, and the article was talking about how this man is being investigated on criminal charges. Well, he hasn't been accused of any wrongdoing directly, but he's being investigated because on the first of this month, which was the Saturday before the election, he sent out a robocall, and I was one of the people who got that robocall. And in the first robocall, they declared a meeting for Republican election judges, and they gave two addresses for the meeting. Both addresses were wrong. So I was about to head to the wrong place. But on the morning that I was supposed to go to the meeting, they sent out another robocall right before I was about to leave. And this robocall gave the right address for one of the locations. And it just so happened that that was the location that I went to. So to be perfectly honest with you, if I had to choose between malicious intent and just incompetence when placing the blame for what happened, I would say it was probably just incompetence. It was really not a very professional operation that these people had at the Republican Party offices on 8140 Southwestern Avenue, which is the place that I went to. They really weren't that professional, and they were making a lot of mistakes. And Jim Perilli even showed up like 20 minutes late to the meeting, and they invited like 100 people, but they only had like 45 seats in the place. So people had to stand up in the back and things like of that nature. So basically, he's being accused of voter fraud because they're saying that he intentionally gave Republican election judges the wrong address for the meeting, which led to uh, Republican election judges just skipping out on election day. And that led to polling places opening up late and decreased service at the polling places. And being as the majority of people who vote on election day are Democrats, supposedly the supposedly more Republicans vote early or absentee. I voted early this year because I had to because I was a judge, so I couldn't vote on election day. So supposedly, this shortage of election judges led to voters skipping voting altogether because they didn't want to have to wait in line or deal with late opening polling places, and that resulted in more votes for the Republicans who voted early and taking votes away from the Democratic candidates whose voters would be voting on election day and not voting early. And I listened to the logic, but it was a flawed logic because I my Republican my fellow Republican judges and I were given our assignments for election day at least a week before the first. They mailed us a list of everyone who we were going to work with. I got my list late because because I had some administrative problems and some registration problems I had to go through. So I got my assignment late, but at least a week before the first, we already knew what precinct we were going to be in, what ward, what the location was, and who the other judges were that we were going to be working with, what their names were. So there was no confusion as to where we were supposed to be on election day. This training that was on the first, Saturday the 1st of November, this was not mandatory. They even told us over the phone, this is not a mandatory training. Um, so there was no penalty for not being there. We still knew where we were supposed to be on election day, and that didn't change. So I really didn't agree that this guy had some sort of malicious intent or that he rigged the election or forced it to go in a certain direction. And so I hope it works out for him. And also, after the election, I'll get to the second point. After the election, Barack Obama made a speech. This was a huge windfall for the Republicans. They won back a House of Congress, and they have the majority of governorships in the United States right now. They even took over my state of Illinois, which my whole life I saw it as being a one-party state where you weren't going to get anywhere if you were a Republican. So it really gave me hope, and now I see that success is possible in the future for somebody of my sensibilities anywhere in the country, especially at this point in history. But Barack Obama made a speech, and he said that two-thirds of voters did not vote on election day. And the way he said it, he said that it's very clear from this election that the American people want those who are elected to office to work for them and to solve their problems. Basically, what he was saying was, hey, everybody knows who I am. I'm Barack Obama. I won against John McCain in 2008, and I beat Mitt Romney in 2012. So I'm I won both of my campaigns. So it wasn't me. I'm not the reason why you guys lost. You guys lost because you're not doing your jobs. I I I was successfully reelected even with the dismal performance of the economy, even with the drone strikes. I won reelection. So I don't know what's wrong with you guys, but I did my job, and the American people agree with me. Yeah, I'm not encouraged. I'm not predisposed to assign blame on Barack Obama for the loss of the Democratic Party, even though they're that's not my ideology. I do have a lot of respect for the Democratic Party. After all, I am unemployed. I am on welfare, and they've done a lot for me over my life. And somebody when I went to the Republican judges meeting, somebody asked me what have the Democrats done for you lately, and I said nothing. I was lying. You know, the Democrats were buying me food. The Democrats were paying my rent. The Democrats were maintaining the the main library in Chicago, the Harold Washington Library, where I went to get all my books. The Democrats were maintaining CTA, which allowed me to travel miles at a time in 30 minutes to get to the library so I can get those books. And so the Democrats have done a lot for me, but there comes a time in your life where you don't just want to have just a meal on the table every day and just be able to pay your rent. You want to be able to go up to the next high level where you are no longer just in a poor mindset, but you're in a rich mindset where you have so many options and you're not even worried about the little stuff anymore because you're rich many times over. That's where I want to be. A lot of people look down on the rich and say, "Oh, the rich own 40% of the wealth in America." I don't denigrate the wealthy for what they own. I want to be in that category. I want to reach that category because with when when you're when you're at the bottom with everybody else, they really don't want anybody else to get out to get out of that, you know, to get out of that barrel. It is crabs in a barrel mentality, and once you try to climb out of there, they will try to pull you back in. And so the Democrats have done a lot for me. I'm appreciative. I don't really blame Barack Obama for the loss of the Democrats, and i- if we get another Republican president and that Republican president declares war on Iran or North Korea and sends our troops over there and 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 you know and a whole bunch of negative things start happening, then we're probably gonna end up with losing to the Democrats again, losing both houses of Congress and losing the governorships and the White House to the Democrats again. So I, I I'm not gonna gloat about what happened because I know that that was us back in 2008, and it could be us in 2020 or 2016. And so that is what happens for as far as the election goes. Okay, uh, that's my video. Have a nice day. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. And have a nice day. Bye.